don't miss the up there at the windowsill either. Get those blinds. I can see that. I'm keeping an eye on them.
Yeah,
I got that going on, buddy. All
I'm gonna
right.
tell him.
Well, I'm just waiting for Facebook to connect, and I'm pretty sure it has connected. So, welcome everybody that's watching on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We're already live on Instagram. This is the X Factor with Xavier Scruggs. I'm your host, Joel Hartman. We're gonna have a legit podcast today. Let's jump right into it. Okay. So last week you interviewed Tim Corbin from Vanderbilt University, head coach, and one of the first things that you said actually was on the opening of your podcast was that he doesn't do podcasts. He doesn't do those kind of interviews. So this podcast that you did with him is special because it's hard to find. So I want to jump right in, and you asked him what is he looking for in a player that he's recruiting. Number one, you commented on, kids getting recruited younger and younger, and to hit on his point, he said he doesn't necessarily agree with it, but that's the tempo of college recruiting now. So that's what they're doing as well. He understands that it might be a little early, but you asked him the question, what are you looking for in those players? And so three things that he said stood out to me, and I want to have you elaborate a little bit for everybody that's watching today. He said he's looking for players that are connected to their teammates. He's looking for players that have a positive spirit about them. And then he's looking for players that have a high care level for everything that they do. Now, number one, connected to your teammates. That means you're gelling together, you're doing well together, you're, playing well together. You're not just playing for yourself, you're playing for your team. Positive spirit about them. You're not walking around with your head down. I always think to that basketball meme where the college basketball meme where the player's walking around with his head down and his teammate comes up and he lifts up his chin. So just
Hmm.
being that, that person that has a positive spirit about you, and then the high care level. I think that's one of my favorites, but I'd like you just to dive into those three things: connected with your teammates, a positive spirit, and a high care level for everything that they do.
Yeah. I think, and you mentioned some great points. Being connected with your teammates, that's leadership within itself. I think that you putting someone else in front of you sometimes is really important, especially at a program like that, a D1. It actually doesn't matter the level, but understanding that in order for you to succeed and the team to succeed, you're going to have to sometimes put other people in front of yourself. Because a lot of guys have the same goal, right? A lot of guys want to be drafted. They want to be major league players. They want to get to the next level, but not everybody's going to be able to do that. But the best thing that you can do as a player for the team, the organization, the college that you're at is be a team player, is understand that you're in an environment that reconciles with the team first.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a great way that Corbin conveyed how you develop as a player too, is like understanding, okay, if I'm able to do certain things for my team and we're able to win, we get more recognition together. I get an opportunity to be seen by more scouts. So I think it doesn't just play at that level, but it also plays in high school. All your travel teams, all your club teams, understanding that if I'm able to be a team player and we're winning, everything is good. That it's like that old saying, like winning cures all. So when you have a program like a Vanderbilt program, top D1 program, they won it in 2019, you're going to get that type of recognition. But at the same
Right.
time, it's like understanding, okay, I'm with the program here. Like I understand that I'm a part of the team. I have a role. Every player has a role. And if I'm able to do my role and do that to the best of my ability,
Mm-hmm.
good things will happen.
Right.
Um, and so I think that that's most important there for that side of things. And let's keep in mind too that as a player, you're not always going to have the role that you want.
Right.
I think that's important
Right.
to remember as well. And you're always fighting to get a better role. Like
Mm-hmm.
just because you have a role where you're at right now doesn't mean that's going to always be your
Right.
role. So continue to keep working toward the next role or the role that you think that you want for the next go around, whatever it may be, because you have a long season. You're always getting better. Things happen, guys get hurt. And your job is to always be developing. So I think that's going to be huge for players to understand. I think he conveyed that really well.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that gelling of being a good teammate helps with the positive, helps when you have a positive attitude as well. Because if you're gelling and you're a person that has a positive spirit, yes, he's looking for that in an individual player as a recruit, but that helps your teammates as well, just as much as, looking out for them and doing things, but being a positive person in general is beneficial to the team's success as a whole.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, that's why they're one of the top in the nation. Not
Mm-hmm.
only are they getting the top recruiting, but these guys are figuring out a way to gel together as a team. And I think that that's got to be one of your top priorities as a player, is like, figure out, how can I gel with everybody? How can I figure out how I best fit on this team and how I can best do my job?
Mm-hmm.
Because I think a lot of times we're so worried about maybe, some of the things that we can't control. If we just control what we can control, like, we have the opportunity to really get better within our own game and provide ourselves opportunities to, who knows, get drafted, get to
Mm-hmm.
that next level. And I think that those are the things that we all want as players.
Why do you think having a high care level for everything that they do is something that's important to him looking for a recruit?
Yeah, I think that's the separator as far as the details.
Okay.
Like, you understand that you care about the little things. If you care about the little things, you're going to care about the ultimate picture.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that we've broken down many times. Is like, if we have a goal, which D1 college programs, you're looking at Omaha's the ultimate goal, right? But how do I get my players to buy in and break
Mm-hmm.
down little short-term goals, how to break down the routines, which we've talked about before, how to be disciplined, all these things that we've talked about is more the detail in things. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that if you care about the little things, you care about your teammate, you care about how you treat your equipment, you care about, okay, I went 5 for 5 today, but my team lost 10-0. I'm not going to be like jumping around, shouting, excited too much. I understand the environment, the atmosphere that I'm in. When you start to care about the little things, those things all take a big part into the big ultimate goal, which is going to Omaha for a D1 team like that.
Yeah, man. And I think that speaks to what you were just talking about in talking about roles. Like, you may be in a role that's not the role that you're going to be in, or you may be in a role that you wish you were in a different role. And I think being able to show that you care about those little things, that you care about being the fourth outfielder, that you care about taking that extra rep, that you care about running hard down the line. I watched a kid this weekend who, with less than 2 outs, hit a high fly ball to straightaway, average distance right center field. And he stood there at home plate and watched it. Like, what are you watching, bro? Like, I don't want to see. Yeah, I know that you're pissed that you popped it up with runners on first and second, RBI situation, but come on, dude. Like, we
Yeah.
can't be childish about it and think that, oh man, bringing attention to your failure is not good, but showing that you care about those little things. I mean, you said it right there. It's the separator. It's if I look at him and he pops it up, number one, I know he's not trying to pop the ball up in that situation. He's trying to drive the ball and he missed it. If he puts his head down and runs to first base and doesn't run past the runner that's already at first, it shows me that, yeah, he's frustrated, but he's still running hard out the box. You know what I mean? So I don't know, those little things, caring about the little things, those little things do go a long way. And I think that's
Yeah.
one thing that high school players take for granted. I'm going to go off track for a second because this is going to play into it, but I was standing behind home plate at a game this weekend, and the coach of one of the teams comes up and asks the tournament director or the rep, the perfect game rep that was there, asked him if he subbed out a player when he re-entered, could he put him in a different spot in the lineup, like lower down in the lineup? And I was like, after he immediately said no, we both looked at each other and we're like, how is that even a question? How are you even a baseball coach and thinking of it? But I think that has a little bit to do with the culture of today's high school travel ball, is that they're sometimes being led by someone that's leading them for the wrong reasons. They're playing maybe for the wrong reasons. They're focusing so much on winning that tournament or having, the best stats from the weekend or whatever, that we're not understanding that why are you even asking that question? Right. So
Right.
that goes to show right there that his focus is on something else. His focus is just, I just want to throw the guys out there and try to win at all costs or whatever,
Yeah.
not having an understanding for the little things. And I think that's one thing that is really hurting high school players of today is they're not focusing on those little things. They don't understand that someone who is minimum twice their age or whatever, or older, that's coaching at a D1, D2, wherever, they understand those little things because they've been there before. Just like a parent to your child. Like they may get aggravated at you for, telling them they're doing something wrong or telling them not to do it. I can do this on my own or whatever. It's not that I don't want you to do it. It's just that I've been in your shoes before and I've seen it. So in the recruiting process, these coaches know what they want as a coach. They also know what they want because they've been around the game for a long time, or they could have been a former player, or they've coached it their entire life. It has nothing to do with, the skill level of the coach. It's just understanding that running hard down the line, not a hard 90 where you get hit by a pitch and you sprint down the line. Like that's not running hard. That's not playing hard. That's making a mockery of what you're doing. So those little things stand out much more than you going 4 for 4 with, 2 doubles and a home run. Yeah, that's great. But if you're in the next game, you go 0 for 4 and you're jogging and this and that, that shows that when things are going well, oh man, I'm locked in, I'm ready to go. But when things aren't going well, it's like you're a totally different player and you can't have that. You got to be consistent. You know that more than anybody playing at the big league level, you got to be consistent. If you're not consistent, where are you going? Back down to AAA, AA, right? That's the thing that's separating you. It's not that the guys in AAA are not as good as the guys in the big leagues. It's just that the guys in the big leagues are there because they've proven that they can do the little things. They've proven that they can have consistent success, and they're doing it over and over again.
Yeah. And I think also to your point too, is like, I think that's where parents can, kind of understand and have a better role as to, okay, what is the priority of the coach? Is the coach trying to go out there and win the tournaments and make a name for himself and try to get a part of this, or get the recognition? But is he actually teaching your son the little nuances of the game? Is he teaching him the actual experiences that he needs to be aware of at the next level? Mm-hmm. Is he teaching him what goes on behind the play that a lot of people don't see and understand? Because I think those little details get lost because they may not mean as much during that particular game, but in the development of my son or development of my daughter, whoever is playing, I want them to understand those things because that's going to be important for them down the road. Because every player, and this too, every professional player knows that the higher that you get, the biggest separator is the mental aspect of things. Like you just mentioned, the AAA player may have the same amount of talent as a major leaguer, but how is he able to be more consistent? How is he able to do those certain things? Right. So I think that's important to understand. And I know that's something that you talk to parents about too, is like, understand where your son is at in his development, understand where he wants to be. How do you get there? Who's coaching him? Who's mentoring him? Those things are really important.
Yeah. I think one of the things that is hurtful to our culture or our society today, at least just in the United States of America, is that we're headline readers. We focus on the headlines, and you could take the same headline and switch the words around, add some punctuation, add an exclamation point or a question mark, and change the entire meaning of that headline. And so I read on Facebook the other day a post of a 11-year-old parent saying that her son was complaining about arm pain for like 2 months, that the son hurt his arm pitching, right? Come to find out, they finally went to get an MRI. He had a break in his arm that he'd been walking around the past 2 years or 2 months with a break in his arm. And it's like, so number one, the first thing that came to my mind is that when she said he hurt his elbow pitching, and they thought it was just like little league elbow or whatever, my first thought was, is he on a throwing program? Because your arm shouldn't be hurting after you throw. There should be zero pain after you throw. Pitchers aren't icing or stretching or rehabbing or prehabbing because of pain. They're doing that for maintenance. You might be sore in certain parts of your muscles, but if your elbow is hurting when you're done throwing, that's a red flag in my book. So I just
especially
wanted to
at a young age like that.
especially, yeah. And I just wanted to touch on that because you mentioned parents being involved in that. And so as a headline reader, if you're just going after the latest gizmo, the latest driveline thing, or the latest, top velocity thing, or whatever it may be, like, that's cool that you want to do that, but let's get on our computer, because we have access to anything that we could ever want, and do a little bit of research just for 5 minutes. That's all it'll take. A little bit of research so you can see agreeing point of views and then opposing point of views. So that way you can come to your own conclusion about what you're doing. And so I think just to go back to, the high school travel ball age is, are we focused on, if we're really focused on getting to the next level, me as a parent, I want to make sure that the things that my baseball player does are the things that the recruiter likes. I'm not going to have him do the things that I like or his current coach likes. He's going to, be a team player and be coachable. But what I'm saying is, Tim Corbin is saying, I want a high care level for everything that you do. I want him to be connected to his teammates. I want him to have a positive spirit about him. In my mind, those are the things that I would harp on. I wouldn't harp on trying to play as many games as you can in the summer. I wouldn't harp on trying to, win that travel ball tournament, because I didn't hear him in your interview talking about winning travel ball tournaments, and that
Right.
separates the players for him. So I really think that, we need to get away from that culture in the baseball society, or just in society in general. Stop being a headline reader. I thought about that today. Like, I could put a headline on a Facebook post. Like, I could create a headline and put a link there. And I was thinking to myself, I bet you people would comment on the headline, "Oh, that's crazy. I can't believe they do that." And I was thinking, just direct the link to a meme or something like that, just to prove a point that you can read the headlines, but that's not the information. The information comes in the research, right? So I don't know. Sorry, a little rant.
No, that's important, because that plays along with our generation now, this Gen Z generation that's all into TikTok and Instagram, whatever. Those things are awesome, but the bad thing about that is you only get a quick highlight or a quick video of maybe so-and-so hitting a home run, and maybe that's all you scroll through is home runs, but you don't see what's behind the home run. You don't see the hard work behind the home run. You don't see mentally what he went through, physically what he went through. So I think that's important, along the same lines as a headline, is like, we see what we want to see, but we don't see what's behind the scenes, or do the research ourselves. And I think that's extremely important for parents these days.
I think that's a driving factor in what we have with Prospect Dugout. Is a lot of people don't understand that we're an app company, not a social media company or Instagram page or whatever. And it's tough because we started just as an app company. It took us, we gained followers on Instagram rather quickly, 100,000 in the first year, but we didn't really do anything other than that for the first couple of years, because we weren't focused on the media side. We weren't focused on creating content and things like that. We were focused on the app side of things. And I think that what you just described hits on the point of, you can go out to a showcase and do really well and get some attention. But on the flip side, you can go out to a showcase and do poorly, very poorly, and lose attention. So I think, you're talking about flipping through and seeing home runs or whatever, not seeing the hard work behind it. That's what we're building on the app side of things, is you're creating that reference point for you as an athlete, for you as a player. Yeah, you hit that home run and it's getting a lot of attention. You had that good game pitching and it has a lot of attention. You also have to understand that there are games where you don't do well, right? And if you can show all of the games that you did well and all the success that you had, I'm hesitant to believe any of that. If I don't see any of the failure, if I don't see any of the hard work behind it, then I'm hesitant. I hear the cleaning crews there. I'm hesitant to believe that. So what we're building with the app side of things is literally a timeline database. When you're entering stats, you can attach videos to it to prove that stat, to show that you had that single, or to show that strikeout that you got on video, and then really create a timeline of, I'm a 12U player, and this is what I've been doing. And then I progressed to 13U, and my skills kind of diminished because the field got bigger and I'm introduced to a new brand of baseball. So you go from a stud at 12U, dropping bombs, throwing the ball hard, striking everybody out on the mound. You go to 13U, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, everybody's kind of almost as good as I am because my skills aren't overpowering anymore. Right. And so being able to show that you're not just what your PG rating is, that you're not just what your, top 100 ranking is. That's great. It's good to be recognized. If you're good, if you can perform at a high level, you should be recognized for that. There's nothing wrong with that. But you also have to understand that we need to see consistency. So, I mean, that's just another side rant. But
just to that point too, Corbin mentioned in the podcast that one thing he wants to see is failure. He wants to see when somebody fails, so it's like he knows the kid that he's going to recruit is already good. And that's the case for a lot of coaches nowadays. Like, okay, I know this kid is good, but what does he do? What's his reaction when he fails? How does he bounce back? So they want to see when they go through some stress, some trials and tribulations. Like, that's what you want to see, because that's how you know, okay, is this person right for my program?
I got to hit on one thing, and then we're going to answer this question that I pinned on Instagram. So you're telling me that Tim Corbin said that he is interested in seeing some of the failures, right? So I'm not gonna name any names, but there was a firsthand experience from someone 2 weeks ago that told me that the head coach of a travel ball team was telling players that college coaches don't want to see their failures, that they don't want to see their team losing, that they don't want to see anything other than your success. We've got to dive into the details. We got to dive into the information. We have to be responsible. I'm going to use what Tim Corbin said. You have to have a high care level for everything that you do. So I'm going to insert some words. You have to have a high care level for getting the correct information. You have to have a high care level for doing your own research. You have to have a high care level for understanding what the process is based on your own information gathering, based upon your own experience, and not just because somebody else said so. Let's hit this question right here. Quick question by Naz Array Official on Instagram. What is the possibility of a 26-year-old player to make it to professional leagues, to play professional baseball? 100% possible, without a shadow of a doubt.
100%. There's so many different avenues too. I mean, personally, I played overseas, Korea, I played Colombia, Dominican, Mexico. There's so many different ways. If you're talking about playing professional, independent ball, there's so many different leagues nowadays. And those are also ways that you could get to the major leagues. So don't just think that those are the end. Like, those are opportunities to get to the major leagues. Just want to shout out the Sully B 23, my homie from San Diego. Yes, coaches want to see you fail more, because that's how they see you bounce back. So I appreciate you, Sully B. You already know that's huge. Coaches, that's how you recruit nowadays too. It's like, I don't want somebody a part of my culture in my program that is not going to be able to bounce back, or is not going to be able to understand, okay, I made some mistakes, I made some errors, but how do I get better from that? So I think that's huge. Appreciate you, Sully B.
All right. Last topic. We're half an hour in. This is from your podcast with Tim Corbin last week. By the way, if you're just joining us, if you're just hopping on the live, I'm Joel Hartman with Prospect Dugout. This is my man, Xavier Scruggs, Extraordinary Athletes. This is the X Factor with the one and only Xavier Scruggs. All right. So last week, once again, you did an exclusive podcast with Vandy Boys head coach Tim Corbin. And it's exclusive because he doesn't really do podcasts. He doesn't really do these interviews. You kind of had some strings that you could pull that if you go listen to the podcast, it's really cool. Anyway, I want to hit on this. Okay. Rehearsing victory before it happens. When I heard this story, I was like, oh my gosh. And I know you're a man of faith, so you understand that you got to see things, you got to believe things before it happens. When you're in the middle of the lowest point of your life, if that's what you're focusing on, that's where you're going to stay. Right. So Tim Corbin tells this story about Bruce Jenner when he was an Olympic athlete, that he ran around the stadium the night before he ran the final event. He ran a victory lap. the day before that event. Tim said he was rehearsing victory before it happens. And so Tim dives into that a little bit on the podcast with you. And I'm going to let the viewers know that you need, if there's one thing you need to hear in the podcast with Tim, this is it. Him talking about rehearsing victory before it happens, because he goes on to explain how he took that information and some other information and turned that into 2 national titles. He got close, but then it wasn't until he realized some things that got him and his team over the hump. And I'm not getting into that. You can go listen to the podcast. But something that he said, which when I was watching this, listening to this, I could see your mind being blown, because this is something that we talked about in one of our first episodes, was talking about vision and goals and expectations. And this was the complete opposite. A complete opposite in terms of what he's saying. The motive and the intention behind it is still in the same direction. Just the way that he's describing it is the complete opposite. He's saying that you got to have a vision for your success, but he says that he likes to stay away from goals and expectations with his players, because he doesn't want to put unnecessary pressure on them. He says that you still have to have those thoughts that you can achieve what you want to achieve, but he said you got to be strict about it. You can't put yourself into a position where your goal is something either too high, or your expectation is something that's so tough that if you get into a situation where you can perceive that you're not getting close to it, it might do the opposite effect. So I want to ask your thoughts on that, because I know that that's completely opposite of the things that we've talked about in name, but to me, I think it just dives deeper. It gives a deeper meaning of setting goals and expectations. He's not saying to not do it. He's just saying that the way that he teaches, the way that he coaches, he stays away from using those terms, and instead says that you have to have the thoughts that you can, but you need to rehearse the victory before it happens.
Yeah. Joel, I was mind blown. I mean,
I knew you were.
And that was something that I was hoping that a lot of people picked up, because it was in the very beginning of the podcast.
Yeah.
But he set the tone. He set the tone, and I wanted to dive deeper. I was like, okay, you're talking about somebody who's won 2 national championships within the past 6-7 years, and he's talking about it's so hard to get to the College World Series. He's like, I don't look at that as a goal. Like, he's like basically saying that that's not even in his vision. And I'm like, how does somebody who's accomplished what he's accomplished doesn't even, look at that being a goal? But then when what you talk about breaking it down, like he's rehearsing it in a different manner, and it's perfect for his culture of his program. It's almost like they already know what to expect, that they don't need to set those goals.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that was something that was kind of came into fruition for me, is like, okay, this is something that's been passed down from year to year to year. They know where they want to go, but they're so focused on the minor details of getting there and seeing what that looks like.
That's it right there.
That's what it is. And I was seriously mind blown. That would almost be like somebody, Albert Pujols, saying like, I don't think about hitting home runs. When you've hit 660 home runs, whatever it is, it's like, okay, now we're breaking down the little details of it. And that's what separates his program from the next. And I just wrote down, like you said, staying away from goals and expectations. And I think that's what's important for players to understand, is like, don't let somebody else put goals and expectations on you. Mm-hmm. Like, just go through that process of getting better he talked about getting better every day. Cause I asked him, how do you get some of those best players that know they're going to be top draft picks? How do you get them to just focus on the team? Because they're thinking, they have to be thinking a little bit about what's next. But he said, get them focused on playing better every day, getting better every single day, and figuring out, he said, physically, spiritually, emotionally getting better. And I was like, man, that's huge, because that really breaks down a full day and like makes you focus on, okay, how do I do this every day? But to your point, I was mind blown, man. I was mind blown.
Well, let's dive a little bit deeper. Faith without works is dead, right? So you can have the goal and the expectation, but I was writing down right when you were saying it, that when you were talking about setting goals, or when you were talking about they have the understanding, they have the belief that that's the kind of program that they are. That's something that they just expect because that's who they are. But it's the little details. It's the high care level for everything that you do. Why do you think that he recruits players that have a high care level for everything that they do? Because that is what it takes to win. It doesn't take the best player. It doesn't take the best home run hitter. It doesn't take the Cy Young Award winner to win. It takes 25, I don't know what the roster size is, 27, whatever, however many guys in Major League Baseball, 25 guys. It takes 25 guys with the same mindset that are going to do the little things consistently that's going to win. So when he's recruiting guys that have a high care level for everything that they do, he knows that he's bringing athletes into the program that are going to buy in to the philosophy that he's teaching. And if you don't buy into the philosophy, then why are you even a part of the program? And that's not on the player. That's on him. That's his job as head coach. His job isn't to call signs to the third base coach to say you're going to bunt or this and that. Like, that's part of the game. Like, that's how you guys play as a team. His job is to build a group of teammates. Look, he wants guys that are connected to their teammates. He wants guys that have a positive spirit about them. We're talking about rehearsing victory before it happens. That sounds pretty positive. He wants guys that have a high care level for everything that they do, right? He goes on to talk about, rules and things like that with his players, and he sums it up in one phrase: don't embarrass your parents. And what does that cover? He said it literally covers everything, right? So if you're going and playing baseball and you being lazy on the field, that's embarrassing the name on the back of your jersey, right? That's embarrassing yourself. It's also embarrassing the name on the front, but like, is what you're doing on a daily basis positive? Is it moving towards what's going to make you successful? And having a high care level for those little details day in and day out. He even said that the first year that they won, he didn't even think they were going to win. He didn't even expect them to win. He's like, there's no way that this team's going to win. It's not the team that's going to do it. And then they went out and did it. And then he said in 2019, he knew the team was going to win because he'd been there before. He'd seen some of the things that he had doubted and gotten a fresh perspective on that situation, so that the next time that thought came up, the next time that scenario came up, instead of going right to the negativity or going right to something else, he went to rehearsing the victory before it happens, knowing that, these guys have what it takes. These guys do have a high care level for everything that they do. And let me hit on this. The better the player is who has a high care level for everything that they do, the better they're going to be. Like, you could be an outstanding player, but if you don't care about the little things, guess what? You're not going to spend that extra time in the cage. You're not going to spend that extra time on your throwing program or running or lifting weights or getting good grades or whatever. You really don't care about winning. How can you care about winning the College World Series if you're not passing all of your classes, if you're not respecting your coach and your teammates and your organization and your parents by not getting into trouble off the field? How can you look at someone in the face and say, I care about winning. My goal is to win the College World Series. My goal is to be drafted. My goal is to play in college. My goal is to win the World Series. How can you say that if you're not doing the little things?
Joe, you hit it on. I mean, seriously, because I'd only be reiterating the same things that he said, that you said. Like, that's how important it is to understand that. And I think that a lot of times we have, especially at the high school, middle school level, like, we have mommy, daddy holding our hand to, try to get us to understand those things. But one thing he mentions too is, like, he's not going to hold your hand when you get to college. Like, those are things that we all have to understand, is like, that's when you have to take it upon yourself to go the extra mile, to do what you need to do, because you're a part of a culture, you're a part of a program where everybody's got to be on the same page. So I think that that's important to understand. Like, younger athletes, nobody's going to hold your hand. You're only going to get that for so long. And you already know this too, because you have a son that's a senior in high school. Like, there's a point when you have to pull the reins back, and it's like, okay, he's got to be good on his own. I've done what I needed to do.
I tell you what, that sucks, because a lot of time he doesn't want to listen. A lot of times he wants to do it on his own and not take some educated advice. And that's where it's tough on me. It's tough on the parent, because you want to get mad and upset about it, but at the same time you can't, because it's his decision, it's his life, it's the choice. I can't, exactly like you're saying, I can't hold his hand forever. He's going to go to college, he's going to go play professional baseball. He's got to learn to do it on his own, right? And so I kind of missed out what I was saying on Faith Without Works is Dead, but like, if you have all those goals and those expectations and you have that belief system that you can do something, the belief system doesn't start and end with just the belief. The belief system starts with the belief and it ends with the belief, but in the middle is all of the actions that you have to do to get from belief at the beginning to the accomplishment at the end.
Go ahead and preach. No, but for real though, I mean, that's what we're talking about, man. Like, and if people haven't heard the podcast, go listen to the podcast, Extraordinary Athletes Podcast with Tim Corbin. It's the latest episode. He breaks it down, players, breaks down recruiting, breaks down his program, breaks down his beliefs and how his culture of the program has just grown immensely. So just check it out. I mean, do yourself a favor.
The link is in your bio, right? To your podcast?
The link is in my bio. Yes, the link is in.
So everybody, I need you to click Xavier's name. You could do it right now and go subscribe to the podcast and then come back, because the live video will pick right back up. Or if you're watching this later on Instagram, it'll pick right back up where you left off. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, go ahead and check that out. I mean, and a lot of those questions that people are asking right now, the answers are in the podcast as well. Somebody mentioned about their coach saying that they're not a pitcher, or that they're not a certain position, or whatever it may be. It's like, your coach is obviously there to help you, but understand that it's your future. And if you want a certain position, you got to go get it. Nobody's going to continue to keep holding your hand. So go do what you feel like is something that you see your future doing, or something that you want to be a part of. Like, go do it. Nobody's going to say, don't do it. So it might take a little extra work, but I'm all for the work. That's just going to make you stronger.
Baseballer 755. My team plays the Florida Rebels this weekend. That's my son Lucas's team. So, all right, buddy. Make sure, hey, shoot me a DM, bro, so I can make sure that we link up, get a selfie. Dude, all right. Xavier, mommy 16. That's not your mom, is it?
No, that's not mom.
Okay. It says,
shout out to Xavier's mom. I think we've talked in the DM. That's a good name. That's a good name.
It says, hi guys, especially to Xavier. Thanks. Appreciate it. There's only two of us. Man. Oh man, dude. This is good. All right, 45 minutes in. Let's wrap it up. The X Factor with Xavier Scruggs. All right, so we talked about what Tim Corbin. Oh, good, because the cleaning crew really is there. Talked about what Tim Corbin looks for in a recruit. He says that they're recruiting all the way down to freshmen in high school. So that's true. Says that on the podcast.
So that means 7th grade.
Exactly. So he says he's looking for guys that are connected to their teammates. He's looking for guys that have a positive spirit about them. And he's looking for guys that, this is just 3 of the things that I said. I didn't say everything. So you got to go watch to see the rest. High care level for everything that they do. Right. And he also talked about rehearsing victory before it happens. So tell you what, man, you come here and you learn stuff. You learn things. I'm learning things. You're learning things. We're having a great time. People are getting good questions. We're connecting with people. We're seeing guys that have been around for a while coming back. Eddie, yes, if you go click Xavier's name right now, click his name, and the link in his bio can get you to the podcast. So
straight to the Extraordinary Athletes Podcast.
That's it. All right, guys. Thank you guys for joining us. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram Live. Thank you for watching this later on Instagram TV. Thank you for watching this later on all these other social platforms. It means a lot to us. X has got a lot of good stuff going on. I really appreciate your time today, and enjoy the rest of your day with the family gone. Just taking a little chill pill today. I love it.
You too, my man. I had a great time today.
That's it.
Thanks,
right,
thanks
guys.
everybody. X Factor.
Thank you guys so much. See you guys.